Hello, this is yours truly, Charles Prosper, your consistency success coach. And in this installment, I want to talk about one of my pet peeves, the addiction to motivational speakers, to motivational gurus, and to motivational audio recordings. The thing is that too much attention to motivational messages in an addictive way actually demotivates you and encourages you to rely less on your common sense, and you tend to defer to the expert with the question, what should I do now? What should I do next? Instead of going within and coming up with the answer yourself. This reminds, and even preachers, ministers on the pulpit can be used incorrectly in order to be guided as to what to do. Okay, respectfully, you can overdo anything and anyone that directs you and gives you instructions on what you should be doing. You can misuse me as well. I mean, I don't want you to come to me for everything, asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I want to teach you how to rely upon yourself to get the answers that you need to get. It reminds me of an example, a case. A long time ago, I was watching a TV ministry, and this particular minister, preacher, was talking about one of his members who came to him and saying that he was recently married and that he had an erectile dysfunction problem. And so this was causing a lot of problems with his wife, and eventually his wife got frustrated and they separated. And so the minister tried to counsel him as the best way to approach it, and they prayed together, but the end result was that the man's wife just didn't want to become patient enough to be with him to see through his problem, which was probably for his best interest as well. I mean, if you have a woman who's going to abandon you for that, I mean, she wasn't really worth her mettle at all. But the thing that got me when I heard this was that here is a man who trusts his minister to give him answers to everything, going to his minister and trying to get his counsel as to how to handle a problem with erectile dysfunction with his wife. It's like, I'm going like, duh, you don't go to a minister for a problem such as erectile dysfunction, you go to a urologist. So, to me, this member didn't use common sense to go to the right expert to get his problem resolved. That's what I'm talking about. Being so addicted to leaders and motivational speakers, gurus and ministers, until you lose sight of the fact that you have common sense to give you the answers to your problems. Okay, enough with my ranting. Let's take a look at this installment so you can see a little bit closer how you need to be very careful when you find yourself needing a daily dose of a particular motivational speaker, of a particular motivational series, something that you need in order to be able to continue. That is, if you don't get this motivational message boost, you're going to not do anything. That is what I have a problem with, that you don't do anything unless you have this motivational message injecting you with the inspiration that you need. All right, again, enough. I can go on and on and on this. Let us take a look at this installment and see if you can get the point of what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's go. Hello, my friend. In this installment, I want to talk about using motivational leaders as your primary means of remaining consistent. And I'm going to include myself in this because if you're not careful, you can use me also as your primary means for remaining consistent. But consistency comes from within and is maintained from a fire that you feel from within to achieve a particular goal that's all important to you. The problem with using exclusively motivational leaders and seminar promoters as the means to remain consistent is that they become a type of addiction, and the motivation becomes external versus internal. For example, the really massive type of seminars that people go to, the Tony Robbins type, that will have an attendance of maybe 1,000 people or more, and people rush and they are cheering, they're applauding, they're just charged up, they're fired up, and then after the hour or two of spending and listening to all the motivational thoughts and inspiration, they leave out. And what happens usually? After a few weeks, a couple months, all of that enthusiasm and energy dissipates because it's been externally directed. And so what happens is that just like a person who is receiving, a man who's receiving testosterone injection, instead of depending upon increasing his testosterone naturally, for example, through weight training and proper diet and things of this nature, some take the shorter route of the testosterone injection, which works. But what happens is that when one becomes addicted to this, after a certain period of time, the testosterone injection effect wears off, and then another one is needed. Something like the motivational instructors. You get this surge of energy, of power, and then after a little while, you need another injection to feel the same surge of energy. Same thing happens when you listen to too many motivational audios of a certain leader that's really good, and then it inspires you. You want to hear the next one, and then you get caught up in what I call the dysfunction of more, the disease of more. There is no sense of enoughness when you are listening to externally directed motivational messages, because motivational messages are good, but they need to be followed and listened to sparingly, with the majority of the effort has to be from within the discipline, within the routine, within the determination that's within oneself, him or herself. You know, if you really think about it, go back a couple hundred years and take a look at some of the greatest leaders of history who made changes in all of history. There was a certain time, maybe a couple of hundred years ago, that there were no motivational instructors, there were no motivational tapes, there was no YouTube, there were no audios, and there were no recordings. There were none of these things that we have access to today so readily. These people of yesteryear had to depend upon themselves for their constant motivation, through their own meditations, through their own determination to move forward. In today's modern technological society, things are too easily accessible that make us forget that the power that we have is within. So that you have to be very careful when receiving the main source of your motivation for consistency from external sources, me included. All of these external sources have to be utilized sparingly, but not exclusively, because when it becomes exclusive, that you have to hear the next and the next and the next and the next and the next uh, seminar message and motivational message, then you forget what is the impetus to keep you going. That is the fire within. The fire within that is self-generated. That is actually something between you and God that needs to keep going and going and going and going. So my message here essentially is that follow motivational teachers and instructors and messages sparingly. Be careful if you are following something as a means to keep you motivated. In other words, if you don't hear a motivational message, you're going to lose your motivation. That is not a good sign. It is the idea of you hear a motivational message and then you act upon it. And then you continue to act upon it, and then you find that your motivational drive is internal versus external. So essentially, as my daughter one time said, all motivational teachers sound the same and say the same thing if you don't do anything. So with that, I leave you with the idea that motivation and consistency starts from within and continues from within. So as I always like to tell you, stay consistent and be successful. Okay, I hope you got the message. I hope you learned that you have to go to these motivational speakers and messages sparingly and carefully, to the point where it doesn't become an addiction. Okay, remember, the greatest wisdom that you have is within you, your own common sense. All right? Okay? All right. Before I go, I would like to invite you to my community of consistent-minded members at the Prosper Consistency Success membership site, where you will have access to members such as yourself who will serve as accountability partners assigned to you, as you will be assigned to others, to help you stay focused and on track. We are a community of consistent-minded people who help each other. Also, you will have access to live coaching calls where you will be able to get orientation and focus on achieving your particular goal, and be able to ask questions about certain doubts that you may have that will help you to get back on track if you have found yourself off of track. Okay, so with that said, I would like you to go right now to www.consistencysuccesscoach.com, and you will be glad that you did. One other thing is that I put out daily, consistent installments on the subject of consistency, and I don't want you to miss out on any of them. So I would strongly what am I doing? I would like to strongly suggest that you like and subscribe and have access to all of the installments that will be coming to you on notice. So, did I miss anything? Okay, I think I got it. So with that, as I always say before I go, stay consistent, and be successful.